going on, guys? This is Mitch. I'm back with another video. So I'm gonna get straight to the point. All right, so this video is for those guys who been riding motorcycles their whole life. You know, they're part of that 8% of guys who ride motorcycles in the US, about 8%, who was thinking about switching to a manual vehicle, but they're not too sure. You know what I mean? Let's be real here. It's not like we know a lot of people who are driving these manual cars. You know, we see them, especially if you're a car enthusiast as well, you might see them. Now, this video isn't for the guys who grew up driving manual everything, working on cars, riding different bikes. This is for the guy who's a regular guy who's just so happened to figure out and ride motorcycles, but they have always wanted to own or a manual car or be able to drive one. So that being said, I'm just gonna say, if you can ride a motorcycle, you can drive a manual car. All right, I know you've probably been curious. You probably knew that, because basically if you know how to use a clutch, then you can figure out how to drive a manual car. All right, I'm gonna give you a few pointers on probably how you should go about doing that, because let's be real, most people, if you know somebody who drives a manual, they're probably not going to let you drive their manual. I mean, maybe, especially if you never drove, you don't want to embarrass yourself. So you probably find, you know, if you have the luck to have somebody, just come to a parking lot like this and just, you know, and if he'll let you practice on this car, especially if it's like a beater, then cool, you don't need this video, you'll figure it out. All right, but if you don't, and you've only ridden a motorcycle and you're just thinking about buying a manual car, and you're too embarrassed to go to a dealership and try to test drive a manual car knowing that you've never driven one, this might help you have at least a little bit of confidence if you wanted to try to do that test drive at the dealership. Or if you don't want to do that, you can just bring a friend that knows how to drive manual there with you, and then you can have him test drive it for you, and then just get it, you know, if everything looks good with the car, especially if it's a used car, then you can take that car home, you can practice. So when you first hop in this vehicle, I'm gonna just try to make this I'm gonna try to use motorcycle details with the car so it makes sense, because to me, a motorcycle, you have 5 controls, right? Overall, right? You have your clutch, you have your gas, you have your front brake, and you have your back brake, and your shifter. Yeah, that's 5, yes. So brake, clutch, front brake, back brake, and your gear shifter. If you can learn 5 things, learning 4, which is your gas, if you can see here, your brake, and this right here is your clutch, and this is your shifter. Instead of having your shifter on your left foot, what is it, 5 up, I mean, you know, 1 down, 5 up, you know what I mean, then you got neutral. Instead of all that, everything's right here. All right, now every car is going to be different, but it's going to be mostly the same, especially when it comes to reverse. Some cars have a little pull thing you can put in reverse. Some, it's like my car, where it's all the way up to the right to get into reverse. Oh shit, let me turn that sport. Some are yeah, so some are all the way over and down, whatever. You can kind of just figure it out later, but the first things first, you're trying to get this thing moving, right? So if you've driven a motorcycle before, you'll know that your clutch kind of sets the bar. It's the first thing you want to learn how to operate, right? Same thing, instead of clicking down, 1 down with your left foot, you're gonna go ahead and pull your clutch in, push your clutch in. So I'm doing this with my foot now. The equivalency to pulling my hand in, like on a motorcycle, I'm pushing in the clutch with my left foot. And now, instead of clicking down with my left foot, I'm gonna use my right hand and I'm putting it in first gear. That's your first step. So now I'm in first gear, like in a motorcycle. I click down and I have my clutch in, right? This is what my foot's doing. Same thing with the clutch on a motorcycle. I'm in first gear. Now, just like you do on a motorcycle, you slowly release the clutch, and then guess what? You move. Pull it in. Release. Pull it in. Same concept. Release, and then you got your brake, of course, and pull in to stop it. So if you want to get your car to move, you literally can just use your clutch if you're in a parking lot, just to understand. And I promise you, if you're riding a motorcycle, you're gonna figure this out less than a day, like maybe within an hour. Now, when you're in panic situations, like in traffic or if you're being rushed, you might not have that muscle memory build up yet, So you're gonna make mistakes. It's just muscle memory, just like riding a motorcycle. We all, if you've been through that, this is a breeze. So just remember, same thing, release, and now you're moving, right? Just like a bike, just like you did a motorcycle bike. Now you know how you ride. Your clutch is disengaged. You're in first gear. You can add a little gas, right? And then you can switch to second. Same thing, same concept. Now in a case for if you're in a like a smaller displacement car, it might not be as simple as just, yeah, the car might move a little bit, but it might not, especially if you're on a hill or this or something like that. That's most cars anyway. But so you might not have that luxury of just releasing the clutch and having the car move. I'm to tell you now, I've owned 4 cylinders and I've owned 8 cylinders. This is, of course, if you see my other video, this is Scat Pack 6.4 liter V8. But I've also owned 4 bangers with turbos, and I'm telling you, those cars are harder to learn how to drive. They just are. Mostly because you have to do all the work. Your car is not going to help you like as much as like this, where it's just like I can probably get, if I put this car in first and I release my clutch, I can probably get to going at a decent amount where I feel confident to add gas. Because most videos you see on YouTube, they're going to tell you put it in first. They're going to tell you to do the method can you do on a motorcycle, like give and go, a little bit of gas, a little bit of clutch until it starts moving. Now that's the, like, I'm not an expert, so I'm just showing you what I do to get around every day and how I've taught myself how to drive manual, and that's what I do. If there's some experts on here who want to add some things in the comments, that's fine. But you know, I've probably been driving manual cars for about 10 years now, and that's what I do. I literally put it in first, just like a motorcycle. You want to start releasing it, you can add. Now if you, of course, if this is just learning, right, this isn't going to be a technique you're going to use in traffic. I'm just going to be honest with you. But you got to build your confidence up without stalling out, right? So just like anything, you got to learn release that clutch. Oh shit, I'm on a hill. So you got to release that. My engagement point is kind of high too, so I'm not even at first. Oh my god. Anyway, so you got to release that engagement point, and then when the car gets going, add gas. Now trust me when I say this, it's gonna be a little shaky starting out, you know what I mean? You're gonna, especially when you come to adding different gears. But if you ride a motorcycle, you know, once you get going, it's pretty much easy sailing. So it's gonna be the same concept except clicking up. All right, so I'm gonna just go a couple gears. So just like this, I'm gonna add a little gas, just like you're at a stoplight. Add a little gas. I'm moving. Push the clutch in. Second gear. Go. Same thing with third. I'm gonna switch to third. You know they don't need to, just to show you. Third. You know what I mean? So same thing. Once you get to going, it's easy. You know, we all know the hardest part to learn how to drive a manual is just the clutch engagement. Now you have to learn your car. Every car has a different engagement point. And what I mean by that, like I said, this video isn't for people who have never driven manual before, because you probably don't even know what I'm talking about. And you're thinking like, just release my foot. How's that doing anything? Well, once you learn what a clutch does, it's like when you push your clutch in or grab your clutch in your motorcycle and you're gonna feel a grab feeling. When your car is gonna start moving, if you're in first gear, you're gonna feel it grab a little bit, and your car's gonna start moving forward. You know, that's your engagement point. All right, that's gonna be your sweet spot. You're gonna be use that for, you know, your gear change in a car. I'll say one of the biggest differences between this and a motorcycle, I would have to, maybe it depends on the car, but every manual, every drove, you have to sometimes feather out some of your lower gears. So for instance, like I'm in first gear and I switch to second, instead of just dropping it in and letting it go. I mean, it did there, but instead of just dropping it in and letting it go, sometimes you gotta feather it out of that gear a little bit. So you gotta release your engagement point on a second gear, release it a little bit on third gear if you want it to be smooth and not jerky. You know what I mean? Some bikes you can just literally just drop it in and you won't even notice the difference, but that's not the case. That's not the case for this car or most V8s. I mean, or most manual drive cars. You gotta, if you want it to be smooth and not everybody's just head shaking all over the place, then you definitely want to just learn to feather it in. But that's something you'll learn with time. But don't be scared. Go to the dealership, get that car you want, and I promise you, if you ride a motorcycle, take my word for it, you're gonna be driving on the roads within an hour perfectly. Some even quicker. Like literally, my first manual, I literally just jumped off the porch and just went all in. I went to the dealership with confidence. He's like, you ever drove a manual? I said, I was like, kind of. I was lying. I never drove a manual. But, I did like most people. I watched a few YouTube videos, and I was like, seems like just like how when I rode my motorcycle, it seemed the same thing. You know what I mean? And when I got in, I didn't install at the dealership. Actually, I didn't install my first like couple hours of having it, but I was definitely burning that clutch up a little bit, just trying not to stop. But it's possible, and once what's knocked that number up, because right now I think it's like right around 1.5% of all Americans now. Now I know if you're overseas watching this video, this might be a little weird for you, but Americans, we don't really own or drive manual cars. We just don't. Like literally right now there's only between 1 to 2% of all cars on the road that are manual, which is crazy to me. These are fun cars. Now, as far as maintenance on manual cars and stuff like that, I don't know. Like people, they always say like, all right, it's easier just to change a clutch out and all that, and that might be true if that's your clutch. But if you have any transmission issues, a rebuild, your regular shop, I found out they either don't want to or don't have the experience to have the confidence to rebuild your transmission. I'm talking about transmission shops. I'm not talking about the dealership. They'll get it done. If you have a car, you're trying to save some money, and you have an automatic, you can pretty much take it any transmission shop. They can rebuild your transmission or whatever. What I found out is on my last car had some I think it was a throb bearing went out on it, and he just didn't have the confidence to rebuild it. And I shopped around a couple transmission shops. They just didn't have the confidence to rebuild it. They said, and they highly recommend me just buy a entirely new manual transmission, which seems crazy, but I mean, I guess it makes sense. If you don't have a lot of these cars on the road, you're not going to have these experts just in every mom and pop shop around, you know what I mean? So keep that in mind. But most of the time, if it's just a clutch replacement, you know what I mean, that's pretty straightforward. But other than that, like I said, it is the most fun way of driving the vehicle. Like I said, if you ride a motorcycle, you're probably like an enthusiast type person anyway. You're a little bit more adventurous type of person, because not too many people are going to hop on a motorcycle and go out there and drive around with 3, 4, 5, 6,000 pound cars around you, knowing that you can die, basically, and not be like in some type of enthusiast, you know what I mean? So if you want to get in this manual car, don't be scared, you know what I mean? Get you a manual car. Don't be scared. You know what I mean? Have you some fun. You know what I mean? Join those guys. Everybody don't have to be 60 years old. No offense to the 6-year-olds watching, if you're watching this video, to know how to drive a manual car. You know what I mean? It is the most fun you can have in a car. It's the most connected way to drive a vehicle. And if you're gonna own a sport car, although admittedly the automatic version of this car is a little faster, whatever, anyway. But I have more fun anyway. Yeah, so I think that's it. All right guys, you have a great day. Bye.